drugged enchantment, parchment lips, hallelujah, heartache.
So I think most importantly, I just want to know, how did the band begin and how did the band form? How do y'all get together?
So it started out with just Chloe and I as a duo. We used to play I guess it was quite different. It wasn't quite as heavy and rocky. One acoustic guitar, one electric guitar. And then we got Ashlyn in to play drums after about 6 months. And then when we got Rianne, it was about 6 months later, and we upgraded to like full electric instruments and became quite a fair bit heavier.
Okay.
So yeah, it was about early 2014 when we became like a full band.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to actually kind of give it a go?
I guess we've probably all got our own reasons, but I always wrote music and I was playing solo for a while before I joined up with Chloe. Chloe was playing in bands before as well.
Yeah.
I concur.
I was playing in another band, just kind of, not as a session musician, but I wasn't really writing in that band, and I was writing my own solo stuff on the side. And then Jane and I just kind of collaborated with a couple of other people, and that kind of didn't eventuate, so we just decided to just do our own thing together.
Okay. So how did you decide really on, because there are kind of four of you, so how did you decide on the style of music or the direction you wanted to take?
I don't think it was deliberate, it just kind of organically formed that way. We all brought our own influences to our own instruments and like songwriting and stuff. I think we all come from like similar influences, but we've all got our own specific taste. Yeah, that we sort of bring in our own like style of writing our parts.
Okay.
And that sort of came together too.
Okay. So what is the process actually like? I mean, how does it actually work? I mean, how do you kind of put together a new song together?
We usually, Jane or I, write something or like a skeleton at home, and then we kind of bring it into rehearsal or collaborate on it. Write the song from a basic shell, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you decide? I mean, how do you kind of, look at each other and kind of say, yep, that's it?
It's a mutual feeling, I think.
Yeah.
We can tell when it's working, and we can tell when it's not working.
Like telepathic.
Yeah.
Kind of each other. Yeah, I always find this an interesting thing, because even like, let's say when you're recording because when you get down to recording it, it's also a different process. So it's the same thing. Where do you kind of decide when you're recording that, okay, that's it, no more tracks, we're happy with it? How do you decide that's it? Again, from a recording aspect.
It's tricky. I think you can sometimes like overdo it.
Yes.
With recording, but it's good to have more stuff there, and then you can kind of take it out and have stuff to choose from. Our stuff is like, we don't have like heaps of synths or anything like that, so we don't really doing like heaps of tracks. But yeah, we still like we usually work with somebody who's like engineering for us, and we'll have their input on what else they think it needs, and yeah, we just sort of listen and we're like, oh, you might need a bit of keys here or something to fill it out, but yeah.
Okay. So what would you say are your specific inspirations or influences in terms of music?
Like other musicians, do you mean?
Yeah,
or like
stuff you
artists?
listen to and things you think you can get inspiration from.
Well, I guess like if it was bands or artists, I really like Future Milk Hotel, but I don't know if that's what, like, I don't know if other bands is what inspires me.
Yeah.
I think it's just like I don't know, I've always been, or like had a creative flair, and I guess I'm expressing it in music at the moment. I don't know, anything. I'm inspired by like my band as well, and people I know who create music. I think that's like really what inspires me, to see them do something so personal and from their thing, and that's I find that inspiring.
Okay. I mean, it could be outside of music as well. Anything else?
Yeah.
But if you kind of come across something and you think, wow, that's pretty interesting, or that's a different way of doing things, and may not be conscious, but sometimes it kind of subconsciously does have an impact on what you do creatively.
Well, yeah, really everything in life kind of informs, how you do something creatively. But I really agree with what Ash says. I always feel like inspired by like everyone in the band and like just their approaches to, especially when you write a song and you like bring it to the group and like you have no expectations of that song, but what the band does to it is like nothing I could have ever envisioned and like makes it 100 times better. So
yeah, totally. And definitely like a lot of local musicians are really influential or just super supportive, so you just always want to keep playing and creating.
Yeah. That's a good segue into talking about Perth. We've been quite lucky the last few years. We've been getting a lot of bands from Perth, and Music Matters as well as other things. So I quite enjoyed last time out Rag and Bone. They were pretty fun, hang out with them and all that. So what's it like in the Perth music scene? Are they very supportive? Are they helpful? What is it like? Tell us what it's like.
For sure, they're very supportive. We're all friends as well. Like, it's a pretty small community. A lot of musicians in Perth know each other and artists. So, yeah, everyone's really supportive, I think, and appreciates what each other does. And, yeah.
Okay. So can you give some maybe examples of how supportive the scene is? Can you think of anything?
we're doing a split 7-inch with another band at the moment, and we've played a string of shows with them to promote it, and we're going on tour with them, and it's just it's a big love-in, really. It's they love our music, we love their music, we're doing this thing together, and it's just it's really nice to have that opportunity. We might not be able to afford to do a vinyl release right now if it wasn't for our partnership with this band, so that's really helpful.
Okay. Cool. So in terms of the live scene, I mean, how vibrant is it? Because in Singapore, just give you some background. In Singapore, 90% of music that's played in clubs is cover music. Yeah, so it's especially let's say where you performed last night, that place is cover music all the time. Okay, so it's always a treat, original music at Timber, that kind of thing. So what is it like over in Perth?
It's mostly original music in Perth. I think we don't have too many live music venues, I guess. There are some places that have cover bands, but it's not really a shared venue, so it's usually an original music venue or a cover band venue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So like in the US, they are quite fortunate in a sense because they're kind of established tour routes, in a sense that if you're in the US, okay, we can play here, right? So there's kind of a fixed to a certain extent, right? So is it the same in Australia? I'm not really that familiar. Are there kind of, if you want to tour Australia, is there definitely places you can go?
Yeah, there's definitely more venues that would be well suited to types of bands than others. So I think you just need to do your research, or ask friends whose bands have played there before, because it makes a difference what venues you play. People definitely choose, the right venue for what they want to listen to or where they want to go or be.
So would you say that it is quite easy, or? Because in Singapore, we have nothing, basically. People say, oh yeah, we should have a circuit in Southeast Asia. I'm like, yeah, who's going to start? Who's going to start to do the hard work? Because nobody's done it before, kind of thing. So Singapore is so tiny, right? So it's okay, where do you want to go play? Especially if you're doing original music. So how is it like in Australia?
I think it's it can be hard because there are so many Australian bands who just want to play and tour and for whatever reason, and I think the venues are slightly limited for just the local bands who want to do some touring, but all the venues are really good and accommodating. There's just maybe not enough of them.
Okay. So, did I hear correctly? But did you say that this is the first time you were playing outside of Australia?
Yeah.
Okay. So, have you all kind of thought about some of the other festivals outside of Australia?
Well, we've thought about it for sure. I think only up until recently, we've had the time to really like nut down and know what we want to do. Like we started recording the album, and yeah, this opportunity came up to play Music Matters, which is awesome. Yeah, so I think now we're definitely at the point where we want to start looking for
Branching out a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you consider that I've actually brought bands to, I used to be a manager, so I brought bands to China and England. So, and that's from Singapore. So I'm sure you guys can do so much better. I'm sure. I really believe so. I think you have a real good audience out there. Yeah, I really believe so. Yeah. Okay, so how do you think? How have you grown as a band since your first EP?
So much.
In what ways?
Just learning. I don't know. It's just been a huge learning curve, I guess. Like from when we started, not really having one electric, playing acoustic, and working together to figure out how we write songs and the sounds that we like.
Yeah. I think we understand each other as creatively a lot better than we did back then, and like we can work together to sort of like create something that's a little bit more dynamic. It's heavier usually now than it was back then. Like that's just sort of been a little transition that we've.
Okay.
And definitely like recording as well is a huge learning curve from like the stuff that we kind of had in our head going in to record the first EP as opposed to now is like, I don't know, you kind of just get it out in your first recordings. You like the things that you have in your head, you learn really quickly what works and what doesn't.
Well, I must say that the two recent songs you've had, I think Use Up, right? Hallelujah, Headache. I think they're much stronger than your early stuff. Yeah, I really like Hallelujah, Headache. Yeah, it's very. I mean, in a perverse way, it's quite catchy. You kind of know it's kind of sad as well, right? And that's nice. That's cool. But that's a cool.
That's kind of nothing.
Yeah, but that's a very cool combination to kind of have that kind of emotional resonance, but still with that melodic hook there. So I think that's a very good thing that you have. Okay, so what does the future hold? I mean, you're talking about albums and stuff like that. So
yeah, well, I guess we're just focusing on that at the moment. We're not even halfway through. Oh, we're like just halfway through.
3/4, I reckon.
Yeah, I
We've
think
got
we're
a few more
about
songs we need to record.
Completing it.
Oh, the whole. I guess
I'm talking about the whole
recording.
thing.
Oh, right.
Like, mixing, mastering, having
Oh,
it
yeah.
out and so yeah, we're still working on that, and we plan to have that out early next year.
okay.
And just like tour after
Oh
that.
yeah,
And
lots of work, right?
yeah, launching that in Perth.
Okay, so maybe I ask one last question. So, I mean, this one I can relate to because I'm also a songwriter, so I tend to enjoy the songs that are really sad, and the worst things that have ever happened in my life usually end up in the songs, right? So I mean, I don't know whether this is the same for you, but I mean, what is the what is the thought behind these kind of sad songs?
For me, it's songwriting is a form of like emotional expression, and like it's also a coping mechanism that I have. Like it's if I feel overwhelmed by a situation, something that's going on in my life, and I can't make sense of it, then I will usually write a song about it. And that's why I think that's why my songs are emotional. And I also, I mean, I'm influenced by that kind of music as well, so that has an impact on it. But yeah, I think it's mostly just the emotional expression.
It's definitely, I feel like, a coping mechanism, but in retrospect for me, I feel like when I have something going on that maybe is overwhelming or I can't and I feel like I need to find a way to express it. I can't do that at the time. It's always a retrospect understanding. Yeah.
Making sense of it.
Yeah.
Okay.